It's 3 p.m. You're at your desk trying to work and suddenly you hit a wall. Your energy completely vanishes. Your brain feels foggy and you can't concentrate. And you have an intense, almost desperate craving for something sweet or starchy. What's going on? Is it a failure of willpower? Are you just lazy? What if I told you it's none of those things? What if you are simply the victim of a hidden roller coaster that's been happening inside your body all day? This is the world of glucose spikes. And in her revolutionary and wildly popular book, The Glucose Revolution, biochemist Jessie Inchauspé, known to millions as the glucose goddess, gives us the simple, scientific hacks to get off this ride for good. Today on Geeky Philosopher, we are going to explore the secret language of our bodies. This isn't a diet book about what you can't eat. It is a science-backed guide to how you can eat the foods you love, without the negative consequences. It is a manual for reclaiming your energy, your mood, and your health. So the first thing we need to understand is the villain of our story, the glucose spike. When we eat food, especially carbohydrates and sugars, they are broken down into glucose, which enters our bloodstream to provide energy for our cells. This is a normal, healthy process. But, when we eat too many carbs too quickly, and on their own, it's kind of like a flood. We get a massive, rapid spike in our blood glucose. Our body panics. To deal with this sugar flood, our pancreas releases a huge amount of the hormone insulin to quickly pull the glucose out of our blood and into our cells, but it often overreacts, pulling out too much. This leads to a dramatic crash a couple of hours later. That crash is the 3 p.m. slump. It's the feeling of fatigue, brain fog, and those intense cravings. Your body is basically screaming for another quick hit of sugar to get its blood glucose back up. This is the roller coaster spike, crash, crave, repeat. Inchauspé's research shows that these spikes are not just affecting our daily energy. Over time, they contribute to inflammation, aging, hormonal imbalances, and an increased risk for chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes. The goal is to get off the roller coaster. The goal is to flatten your glucose curves. Segment 2, the first hack, the power of food order. So, how do we do this? This is where the book's simple but brilliant hacks come in. And the first one is honestly one of the most powerful and counterintuitive. It's not about what you eat, it's about the order in which you eat it. The golden rule is this: fiber first, protein and fat second, starches and sugars last. Think about fiber, the stuff in vegetables and salads, as creating a protective, viscous mesh in your stomach. When you eat your veggies first, you are lining your intestines with this mesh. Then, when the starches and sugars arrive later in the meal, they are digested and absorbed much more slowly because they have to get through that fiber barrier. This simple change in order can reduce the glucose spike of a meal by up to 75%. You are eating the exact same meal, but by simply eating the salad or the broccoli first, you are completely changing its effect on your body. This is a free, simple, and incredibly powerful tool. Alright, let's dive into segment 3, where we'll uncover some secret weapons: vinegar and a green starter. Building on the first hack, Inchauspé introduces us to 2 more simple, proactive tools. First up, adding a green starter to your meals. It's the easiest way to ensure you're getting your fiber first. By simply starting your lunch or dinner with a small side salad or some cooked vegetables, you create a powerful way to build that protective mesh and flatten your curve. Now onto the second secret weapon, which has been known for centuries, but, well, has been somewhat forgotten: vinegar. The science behind it is quite remarkable. The acetic acid in vinegar temporarily inactivates the enzyme in our saliva that breaks down starch into glucose. Plus, it tells our muscles to soak up glucose more quickly from the bloodstream. The result? Just a single tablespoon of vinegar in a tall glass of water taken a few minutes before you eat can significantly blunt the subsequent glucose spike. It's honestly a simple, cheap, and incredibly effective tool to have in your arsenal. Segment 4. Hacking your dessert. How to clothe your carbs. This philosophy isn't about giving up the foods you love like cake or cookies, it's really about being smarter about how you eat them, and this leads to another brilliant principle: never eat a carb naked. A naked carb is basically a sugar or starch that you eat all by itself on an empty stomach. This is, without a doubt, the fastest way to create a massive glucose spike. The solution is to clothe your carbs. This means you should always eat your carbs with other foods that contain fiber, fat, or protein. These other macronutrients slow down the rate at which the glucose is absorbed into your bloodstream. So, instead of just drinking a glass of fruit juice, which is like naked sugar, try eating the whole apple where the sugar is clothed in fiber. And instead of munching on a plain rice cake, which is just naked starch, add some avocado or peanut butter on top. That way the starch is clothed in fat and protein. And the best time to have dessert? Right after a full meal. Eating that piece of cake after you've already eaten a meal full of fiber and protein is far less damaging than eating it on its own as an afternoon snack. You're clothing the sugar in the rest of your meal, which blunts the spike and prevents the crash. Okay, so the final key hack is actually about what you do after you eat. Yeah, it's called the post-meal secret, and it's as simple as taking a 10-minute walk. When you eat a meal, glucose enters your bloodstream and starts to circulate. One of the primary consumers of that glucose is, well, your muscles. So, how do you get your muscles to take up more glucose? You use them. Now, you don't need to go out and run a marathon or anything like that. The science shows that just 10 to 20 minutes of light physical activity right after a meal can have a huge impact. Seriously, a simple walk around the block doing some dishes or even just doing a few squats and push-ups in your living room will activate your muscles. And when your muscles are activated, they actually start soaking up the excess glucose from your bloodstream to use as fuel. This dramatically reduces the amount of glucose left floating around, which means less of a spike and less of a crash. So, a short walk after a meal is honestly one of the easiest and most effective ways to help your body manage its glucose levels. So, as we wrap things up, let's remember, The Glucose Revolution is not a diet book. It's actually a book about learning to speak the language of your own body. Your energy slumps, your brain fog, your constant cravings. Hey, these aren't character flaws. They're biological signals. They're the symptoms of a body that's, honestly, stuck on a constant glucose roller coaster. Jessie Inchauspé's work is, well, profoundly empowering because it gives us simple, science-backed tools to get off that ride. It's not about restriction or deprivation, it's about being smarter. It's about understanding the deep biological impact of our food choices and, using that knowledge to work with our bodies, not against them. By flattening our curves, we can actually take back control of our energy, our mood, our cravings, and our long-term health. It's a form of self-mastery that really begins at the cellular level. This book is a guide to biological freedom. It's about freeing yourself from the cycle of spikes and crashes that dictates so much of our modern lives. It's a path to a more stable, more energetic, and more vibrant way of being. If you're someone who believes in using scientific knowledge to build a wiser and healthier life, then honestly, you're a student of this work. So consider subscribing to Geeky Philosopher, where we're dedicated to exploring the ideas that help us master our inner world. Thanks so much for your time.